The lake community was supposed to be quiet. That was the whole reason I bought the property. No city noise. No drama. No busybodies telling you how to live. Just water, pine trees, and enough distance from people to finally breathe again. So I thought my granddaughter, Lily, was visiting for the summer. She was 12, smart, curious, and fiercely independent in that way kids are when they grow up around people who actually respect them. That morning, she had walked down to the dock with her fishing pole, the same dock I'd owned for nearly 15 years. The same dock listed clearly on my deed. The same dock that predated the HOA by almost a decade. I was inside making coffee when I heard the shouting, not kids yelling, not playful noise, adult voices. Angry? Authoritative? I stepped onto the porch just in time to see two men in dark uniforms grabbing Lily by the arm near the dock. They weren't real cops, no city insignia, no state pachasba. They were dressed close enough to fool most people. Black tactical vests, utility belts. One of them even had handcuffs. My heart slammed into my throat. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, running down the steps. One of the men barked back, "Sir, stay where you are. This is HOA enforcement." HOA enforcement. Those words still make my blood boil. Lily was crying now, trying to pull away. "Grandpa," she yelled, her voice cracking. "They said I'm trespassing." Trespassing. On my land. I reached them in seconds and put myself between Lily and the man holding her. "Let go of her," I said slowly, calmly. "The way you speak when you're trying not to. Do something you'll regret." "She violated community regulations," the second man said. "Unauthorized dock access. Minor or not, rules are rules." I laughed once. A short, sharp sound. "That dock is on my property. You don't get to touch her, or me." The first man tightened his grip instead. That was the moment everything changed. "You're interfering with HOA authority," he said. "Step back or we'll escalate." I looked around. Neighbors had started coming out onto their decks. Phones were already up. People sensed something big was happening. "Escalate," I said. "I dare you." The second man reached for his radio. "Base, we've got a non-compliant property owner. Possible detainment required." I felt Lily trembling behind me. That's when I realized this wasn't just HOA nonsense. This was kidnapping, and they had no idea who they were dealing with. Within minutes, a black SUV with magnetic HOA security decals pulled up near the dock. Out stepped a woman I recognized instantly, Janice Whitmore. HOA president, self-appointed ruler of the lake. She walked like she owned the ground beneath her feet. "What seems to be the problem here?" she asked, arms crossed, smug smile already forming. "You tell me," I said. "Why are your goons putting hands on my granddaughter?" Janice glanced at Lily, then waved dismissively. "She was violating community access rules. Minors aren't allowed unsupervised on HOA docks." I pulled my folded deed from my back pocket and shoved it toward her. "Not an HOA dock. Private property." She didn't even look. "Our records say otherwise," she replied. "And our officers are authorized to detain until local police arrive." That word again? Detain? I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "You touch that child again, and this becomes something you can't undo." Her smile faltered just for a moment. "You're threatening an HOA official?" she said loudly, making sure the neighbors heard. "I want this man removed." "What?" Of the fake cops reached for Lily again. I snapped. I grabbed his wrist. It's twisted just enough to make him yelp, and shoved him back. Not violent, controlled, efficient. Years of training don't disappear with age. The crowd gasped. Janice screamed, "Assault! Call the real police." "Good," I said. "Please do, because here's what she didn't know. My granddaughter's father, my son-in-law, was a federal prosecutor. My late wife had been a judge, and me. I'd spent 30 years working cases that people like Janice only saw on the news after lives were ruined. I knelt beside Lily. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, tears streaming. "They scared me." I stood up and looked directly at the HOA officers. "You're done," I said. "Every single one of you." Sirens approached in the distance, but not the kind Janice was expecting. The first siren cut through the air like a blade. Janice Whitmore's smug confidence wavered, but she recovered quickly, squaring her shoulders as if she were about to be vindicated. She leaned toward her HOA officers and whispered sharply, "Stand your ground, we're in the right." That was her biggest mistake. 2 county sheriff cruisers rolled in slow and deliberate, gravel crunching beneath their tires as they positioned themselves between the crowd and the dock. Doors opened. Deputies stepped out, not rushed, not aggressive, just controlled. Professionals. The lead deputy scanned the scene in silence. A crying child. 2 men in tactical vests with no official markings. Phones recording from every angle. His eyes narrowed. "What's going on here?" he asked. Janice rushed forward like she'd rehearsed this moment in her head 1,000 times. "Officer, thank you for coming. These HOA security officers were lawfully detaining a trespasser when this man assaulted them." She pointed at me as if I were already convicted. The deputy looked at me, then at Lily, then back at Janice. "How old is the trespasser?" he asked. Janice hesitated. That's irrelevant. The deputy didn't blink. Answer the question? 12. She snapped out. The deputy's jaw tightened. Before he could speak again, a third vehicle arrived, quiet, unmarked. Government plates. It didn't announce itself. It didn't need to. The moment the engine shut off, something in the air changed. A woman stepped out, mid-40s, calm expression, blazer instead of uniform. Her badge was visible, clipped cleanly at her waist. She took in the scene in less than 2 seconds. Then she spoke. Who authorized the detention of a minor? Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Janice turned, irritation flashing across her face. And who are you supposed to be? The woman didn't answer immediately. She walked past Janice, past the deputies, straight toward me, and Lily, Dad, she said quietly. Janice froze. The deputy's head snapped up. This is my daughter, I said, steady as stone. Assistant U.S. Attorney. A ripple moved through the crowd. Phone zoomed in. My daughter knelt in front of Lily, her entire demeanor softening. Sweetheart, I need you to tell me something. Did anyone here grab you or stop you from leaving? Lily swallowed hard. Yes, ma'am. They held my arm and said I was under arrest. That word landed like a hammer. My daughter stood and turned slowly toward the HOA men. Under arrest, she repeated. By what authority? One of them stammered. We were HOA enforcement. We have jurisdiction over community violations. The deputy let out a humorless breath. You don't have jurisdiction over anything. Janice stepped forward, panic creeping into her voice. They're authorized under HOA bylaws. We can detain until police arrive. My daughter's expression didn't change, but her eyes hardened. No, she said. You can't. Not legally. Not ever. She turned to the deputy. These individuals impersonated law enforcement, unlawfully detained a minor, and restricted her movement under threat of force. The deputy nodded once. That's what it looked like. Janice's voice rose. This is outrageous. You're all overreacting. It was just a misunderstanding. The deputy raised his hand. Ma'am, step back. One of the HOA men shifted nervously. We were just following orders. My daughter looked directly at him. Whose orders? He glanced at Janice. That was all it took. Deputies, the lead officer said. Detain them. Meadow clicked. One by one, the HOA cops were cuffed. The sound echoed louder than any siren. Janice screamed. You can't do this. This is private property. The deputy turned to her slowly. Actually, ma'am, this is private property owned by him. He gestured toward me. And you ordered the detention of a child on land you don't own. Janice's face drained of color. She took a step back, canned another. You're under arrest, the deputy said. For conspiracy, false imprisonment, and impersonation of law enforcement. She laughed hysterically. This will be thrown out. I run this community. The deputy didn't react. He simply cuffed her as they led her away, neighbors whispered. Recorded, stared, bad. My daughter turned back to me. Dad, do you want to press charges? I didn't answer right away. I looked down at Lily. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were steady now. Watching, learning. Yes, I said finally. All of them. The deputy nodded. We'll take statements. As Janice was placed into the back of the cruiser, she locked eyes with me, her expression twisting between rage and disbelief. You think you've won? She shouted. This isn't over. I stepped closer, just far enough for her to hear me. It's over. Said Elle. You just don't know it yet. The door shut. The crowd erupted in low murmurs, and for the first time since that morning, Lily exhaled. If you want, I can now. The cruisers pulled away one by one, red and blue lights fading into the trees. What remained was silence, thick, stunned. Silence broken only by the gentle lap of water against the dock. My dock? Neighbors stood frozen, phones still raised, as if lowering them might somehow undo what they'd just witnessed. A woman across the lake whispered, "Oh my God," like she'd only just realized she'd been holding her breath for hours. Lily reached for my hand. I squeezed back. It's over, I told her. They're gone, but I knew better. This kind of arrogance never disappears quietly. That evening, my daughter stayed behind while deputies finished statements. She was calm, precise, every word chosen carefully. She didn't raise her voice once, and that scared people more than yelling ever could. Before she left, she turned to me. Dad, this is going to blow up. Media? Lawsuits? Federal review? Are you ready for that? I looked down at Lily, already curled up on the couch with a blanket, exhaustion finally catching up to her. They made it federal the moment they touched her. I said, I'm ready. By morning, the story was everywhere. Local news first, then state, then national. HOA security accused of kidnapping. Minor fake police detain child. HOA president arrested. The footage was damning. Janice screaming. The cuffs. Lily's small voice explaining what happened. No amount of legal spin could erase that. Within 48 hours. 3 things happened. First, the HOAS law firm resigned, publicly. Second, the insurance carrier dropped coverage, citing criminal misconduct outside scope of representation. Third, residents began panicking. I watched it unfold from my porch. People who had avoided eye contact for years suddenly waved. Some even came over, apologizing. One man admitted he'd voted to expand HOA enforcement powers because it made him feel safer. I didn't think they'd use it like that, he said. I didn't respond. Then the lawsuits hit. Parents, homeowners, former board members, turning on each other. Emails surfaced. Meeting recordings leaked. It turned out Janice had been pushing for years to operate like real law enforcement. Training manuals, uniform budgets, detainment language baked into HOA memos. Federal investigators took interest. 2 weeks later, indictments were handed down. Janice Whitmore was charged with conspiracy, false imprisonment, impersonation of law enforcement, and civil rights violations. The so-called HOA cops took plea deals. Some flipped immediately. The HOA tried to survive. It didn't. By month 3, the board dissolved. Assets were frozen. Authority revoked. The community reverted to county governance overnight. No more HOA. The dock remained right where it always had been. Lily started fishing again. The first time she went back alone. I watched from the porch, pretending to read. She cast her line with quiet confidence, sat at the edge, and hummed to herself like nothing in the world could touch her later that night. She asked a question that stopped me cold. Grandpa, why did they think they could do that to me? I set my book down. Because power without accountability makes people forget they're human, I said, and because too many people let them. She nodded slowly. But you didn't. No, I said. I didn't. A month later, my daughter called. Dad, she said, Janice wants to take this to trial. I wasn't surprised. She's refusing a plea? My daughter continued. She still believes she was right. I smiled grimly. Let her. The trial was quick. The jury didn't take long. Guilty on all counts. Espana was led away. She scanned the courtroom, still searching for someone to validate her. When her eyes landed on me, they burned with hate. I met her gaze calmly. She looked away first. That summer ended quietly. Lily went home stronger than she arrived. Before she left, she hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for protecting me." I watched her drive away, then turned back toward the lake. The water shimmered peacefully, unchanged by human stupidity. Some people think HOAs are about rules. They're not. They're about control. And the day they grabbed my granddaughter, thinking they were the law, they learned something far more important. There's a difference between authority and power. And when you cross that line, you don't get to decide how it ends.